Team quarterfinals are underway. Which team stood tall on day one? We've got all the action from two grueling tests on this edition of Game Central. Hello and welcome everyone inside the studio for this team quarterfinal edition of Games Central presented by Beast Gooder. And they have $25 active sunglasses for everyone. Neal Maddox alongside myself, Tommy Marquez. And Neal, what is it that makes the team competition just so special?
Well, the one thing that I love about the team competition is, one, you get to represent your gym, but not only that, you get to represent your community and your city. And what I really love about it too is that you get to compete with your friends. So you get to go out on the floor and compete with your friends against other people to determine who's going to be the fittest affiliate in the world.
Always fun to throw down with some of your best buddies. But looking at the test that they had to take on first, test number one of this team quarterfinal round, 4 total time, 2 rounds each of 15 strict handstand push-ups, 15 dumbbell hang power cleans, and 100 double unders. The male pair will alternate rounds till they hit 2 each. Then they'll immediately dive into 2 rounds of kipping handstand push-ups, dumbbell shoulder to overheads, and still 100 double unders. The reps stay the same there. The male athletes will also alternate rounds until they accumulate 2 each. Then they'll tag off and it'll be the female athlete's turn. They'll repeat that same process. And Neal, I know looking at this, there's a lot of different things going on, but this is a kind of a puzzle piece issue here, making sure the right athletes go in the right spot.
Yeah, so when I'm looking at this workout and I'm looking at it, it's like, I'm just curious how teams are going to strategize and who are they going to put as a front runner and who are they going to have to close it out? Because as we all know, it's going to come down to a good start, but who's going to finish it strong?
Well, Neal, a handful of teams have employed some proper strategies, and these are your leaders by continent after test number one. Looking at a few of these teams here, we got to see them throw down in our featured matchup. If you haven't checked that out already, please do so. 64 Army Gold, they hold down the top time in Oceania on track. Also throws it down with the top time in North America. Big surprise there. And of course, for the full leaderboards, go to games.crossfit.com. One of the teams I just mentioned, 64 Army Gold, impressive performance in the featured matchup, but really it was the women that anchored that and stood out to you.
Yeah, what I was looking at, it was how the women performed, because when I was looking and doing some research on them, both of those ladies finished in the top 50 in the Open this year, and you could obviously tell because of how they closed out this workout. They really closed it out to give their team a victory.
And they edged out a very talented team in CrossFit Mayhem Freedom. They're the team that everyone's chasing, and here is why. Over the past 6 years or so, even beyond that, 4 CrossFit Games titles starting in 2015. The lone blemish there, if we can call it that, is in 2017 with a 2nd place finish. And obviously in 2020, we did not have a team competition. The makeup of the roster looks a little bit different this year, though, with the roster of Mayhem Freedom for 2021 being led, of course, by Rich Froning Jr. He's joined by his cousin, Chase Hill, and then 2 new female athletes in Andrea Nisler and Taylor Williamson that are no stranger to team competition. So it is, of course, no surprise, Neal, that this is the team that everyone's chasing.
Yeah, you know, when I look at it, you know, it's a pretty hard feat to replace Tina and Tasha from the CrossFit Mayhem team, but Rich Froning did it pretty easily. I mean, he got 2 solid female competitors who have competed in the games on a team competition. So he's just basically set up his team to basically sit at top of the podium again.
Mm-hmm. The rich don't rebuild, they just reload, right?
Reload.
And Neal, looking around the rest of the team competition, one team that really kind of stood out to you based on how they performed in the featured matchup was CrossFit Genas.
Yeah, what really impressed me at CrossFit Genas is the fact that their women closed out really hard. I mean, at first I thought they were going to be sitting in last place, but if you really watch them, they started creeping up, and believe it or not, finished with one of the top times in 3rd place. So I was really impressed.
Impressive performance for sure. And another team that stood out to you, you know, maybe we're not familiar with them, but they're leading Asia after event number 1, and they're kind of a super team.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this team right here, Team Kolesnikov, when I'm looking at them, they have, believe it or not, a super Russia team. And what I mean by that, all their athletes are their top athletes out, well, some of the top athletes out of Russia who are competing on their team. But not only that, they are the only team in the Asia continent to finish that WOD, or actually that test. So I'm pretty impressed with what they're doing out there.
Yeah, anytime with these aggressive time caps, you can finish under the cap. That's certainly something to hang your hat on. But looking at test number 2 for this team quarterfinal weekend, a little bit different here. We get to see some team dynamics mixed in. Male-female pairs now. This time, your first pair goes through 70 synchro GHD sit-ups, 14 rope climbs, split those up however you want, then 70 synchro alternating single leg squats. Then you go right back to the top, and this time the reps switch to 50, 10, and 50. When your male-female pair number 1 finishes, they tag out, and the second male-female pair completes the same sequence with a 25-minute cap. And looking at this one, Neal, I think a lot of people probably excited to see some synchro, but there is some ground you can make up on the rope climbs.
Yeah, when I look at the synchro, everyone's going to be, pretty much is going to have to face the same test when it comes to synchro. You got to move with your partner, so you only can move as fast as your partner is going. But when it comes to the rope climbs, you can actually get a fast person on that rope. And so that's what it's going to come down to. I want to see how many men or how many women get more rope climbs than their other partner.
Yeah, and looking at some of the teams that employed a proper strategy there in test number 2, here are your top scores from test 2 across the globe and your leaders by continent. No surprise, CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, they put down the top time in North America. And in fact, they're the only team on this list that managed to finish underneath the time cap. And we saw them in that featured matchup. And afterwards, we caught up with their leader, the man himself, Rich Froning.
Way easier, I think, because you didn't have the third and fourth set of the individual one was the whole workout. That was like 70 sucked, but when you got to 50, you were like, all right, I'm done. So it wasn't that bad.
Oh man, Neal, and you heard it there. Rich Froning kind of poo-pooing the round of 50 there, but he's probably the only person that could do that.
Well, when you have 8 golds, 2 silvers, guess what? You got the right to do that.
And looking at another North American team, Invictus is a team with a pedigree, but we didn't get to see them finish here.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys aren't familiar, CrossFit Invictus is always known for having a team sit somewhere around the leaderboard or always take out some of the top teams. But when I'm looking there and I see how much talent they have on their roster, I'm just kind of shocked that they aren't sitting at the top of the leaderboard after day 1.
And another team kind of in a similar boat, Reebok CrossFit Frankston out of Oceania. They have had some big names in the past on the team, but maybe missing them this year.
Yeah, if you guys are familiar with that team features Rob Forte. He was the head coach in 2019. He's still the owner of that facility and that gym, but yet he has a different team and he's just not featured on that team this year. So I think the team might be missing him a little bit.
Yeah, certainly use a multi-year games athlete on your team to help you boost up on the leaderboard. Looking now at the overall standings after day 1 of competition, we're going to start in Africa and Asia. And in the Africa continent, it is the Eichstad Mighty Oaks. They are perfect on day 1. Just 2 points to lead the way out of South Africa. And then over in Asia, we got a tie between Team Dubai and Red Yar out of Russia. They are knotted at 7 points apiece. And then over in Europe and North America now. And in Europe, it's a 2-way tie. We've also got a 2-way tie at the top of North America as well. And guess what? Neither of the teams are CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, as I Love It and Pro One Montreal sit atop the leaderboard with Mayhem Freedom and On Track knotted in the 3rd spot. Last but certainly not least, Oceania and South America, 64 Army Gold. We've been talking about them all day long. They lead the way, the team out of New Zealand. And then in South America, CFP9, a lot of letters and numbers in a row, but not a lot of points. Just 3 points gives them the top spot, that team representing Brazil. And of course, for their full leaderboards, always go to games.crossfit.com. And Neal, now as we wrap up day number 1, looking at some of the top performers from across the globe, one team out of the North America continent we didn't talk about much, but is atop the leaderboard. That's I Love It.
Yeah, what I really liked about I Love It, just watching their females compete, their females are pretty solid. I mean, obviously, if you look at the leaderboard, both of them are in the top 50 in the open. That's impressive with all the women that you have out there in the open division competing. But that shows right there that they have a star-studded cast that can possibly go up against CrossFit Mayhem Freedom. So pretty curious to see what goes down this weekend.
Yeah, anytime you can be ahead of Mayhem in the overall standings, doesn't care what day it is, it's certainly something to smile about, that's for sure. Looking at some notables across the rest of the globe, what team stands out for you in the Asia region in particular?
You know, when I look at the Asia region, I look at the team, and it's Team Dubai. If I look at there, they have 2 national champions who are on their team from the UAE. So when you get 2 national champions mixed onto a team, right there, that's going to put you right there at the head of the pack. So in that region, they're dominating it so far. Yeah,
some individual games experience on that team certainly helps for sure. We're wrapping up day number 1. Some closing thoughts about what we saw from these tests.
You know, when I look at day number 1, what I was really impressed with was the fact that I just compare everything from 10 years ago. And when I look at how much these teams have gotten better, not only that, I mean, strict handstand push-ups and everyone going through it like it's nothing, kipping handstand push-ups and going through it. They did 90 reps of shoulder to overhead, and it was not anything to them. That to me is very impressive. But when we lead to day 2, it's a little bit different. We're long, now we get to go short. So when you look at day 2, it's going to be heavy, but not only that, short and quick. So the leaderboard, as we know with the open, has changed. I'm looking for some jumps to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, and we got to see that with the individuals as well. Before we wrap things up, we want to share with you guys a special deal from our sponsor for today, Beast Gooder. If you go to gooder.com, that is GOODR.com/CrossFit, and use the code CrossFit, you know what? You're going to get 15% off your sunnies today, and it's almost summertime, so no better reason to stock up and get some new shades for you heading into the summertime. That's going to do it for us today at Game Central. For Neal Maddox, I'm Tommy Marquez. If you guys haven't already, please go check out our featured matchups from test number 1 and team test number 2. And please stick around because we've got more action coming at you for the rest of the team quarterfinals weekend. And if you're looking at potentially getting to see some of these teams that advance compete in person in Madison this summer, well, tickets are on sale now for the CrossFit Games, and you can only get them at games.crossfit.com.
The CrossFit Games are returning to Madison, Wisconsin, and you can be there to see all the action. Ticket packages are on sale now. Choose between Festival only or a Festival plus Coliseum package to ensure that you are on hand to witness the best athletes in the world compete for the title of Fittest on Earth. Be part of the celebration live. Head to games.crossfit.com to purchase your tickets today.